वनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जयो राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे जयो राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे जय राजाधिराजा गोविंदा राजाधिराजा गोविंदा जय राजाधिराजा गोविंदा राजाधिराजा गोविंदा जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद 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 Jom Shapad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Shoshatashmat His Divine Grace Abhay Charana Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT founder Acharya saved the whole world Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Vrinda Devi Tulasi Maharani Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 3. Nigamakalpataro galitam phalam Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukhadamritadarvasam yutam Shukamukhad amritadravasam yutam Pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam Pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam Shukamukhadam rtadravasam yutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Synonyms: Nigama, the Vedic literatures; Kalpataroho, the desired tree; Galitam, fully matured; Phalam, fruit; Shuka, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam; Mukhat, from the lips of; Amrita, nectar; Drava, semi-solid and soft and therefore easily swallowable; Samyutam, perfect in all respects; Pibata, do relish it; Bhagavatam, the book dealing in the science of eternal relation with the Lord; Rasam, juice, that which is relishable; Alayam, until liberation or even in a liberated condition; Muhuhu, always; Aho, oh; Rasikaha, those who are full in the knowledge of mellows; Bhuvi, on the earth; Bhavukaha, expert and thoughtful. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Translation with repetition. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A very elaborate purport and very informative and instructive. So please stay on with me till the end. We'll try to understand. In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a sublime literature which surpasses all Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulated principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulated knowledge involves a gradual rising of the living entity to the spiritual platform, and the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. Every living entity, beginning from Brahma, the firstborn living being within the material world, down to the insignificant ant, desires to relish some sort of taste derived from sense perceptions. These sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. Such rasas are of different varieties. In the revealed scriptures, the following 12 varieties of rasas are enumerated: Raudra, anger; Adbhuta, wonder; Shringara, conjugal love; Hasya, comedy; Veera, chivalry; Daya, mercy; Dasya, servitorship; Sakhya, fraternity; Bhayanaka, horror; Bibhatsa, shock; Shanta, neutrality; Vatsalya, parenthood. The sum total of all these rasas is called affection or love. Primarily, such signs of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. And when these five are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, chivalry, fear, shock, and so on. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the rasa is called conjugal love. But when such love affairs are disturbed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Sometimes, love affairs between two persons culminate in ghastly murder scenes. Such rasas are displayed between man and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of an exchange or rasa between a man and an animal, or between a man and any other species of living beings within the material world. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species. But as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual exchange of rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti mantras, Vedic hymns, as the fountainhead of all rasas. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being is actually happy. These Shruti mantras indicate that every living being has its constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is experienced in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary. And thus, the rasas of the material world are exhibited in the material form of raudra, anger, and so on. Therefore, one who attains full knowledge of these different rasas, which are the basic principles of activities, can understand the false representations of the original rasas which are reflected in the material world. The learned scholars seek to relish the real rasa in the spiritual form. In the beginning, he desires to become one with the Supreme. Thus, less intelligent transcendentalists cannot go beyond this conception of becoming one with the spirit whole without knowing of the different rasas. In this shloka, it is definitely stated that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated stage, can be experienced in the literature of the SRIMAD BHAGAVATHAM due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. But one must be very careful to hear the message from the right source. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly received from the right source. It was brought by Narada Muni from the spiritual world and given to his disciple Sri Vyasadeva. The latter in turn delivered the message to his son Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Parikshit just 7 days before the king's death. Srila Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from his very birth. He was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. At birth, no one is qualified, neither in the mundane nor in the spiritual sense. But Sri Shukadeva Goswami, due to his being a perfectly liberated soul, did not have to undergo an evolutionary process for spiritual realization. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person, situated in the transcendental position above the three material modes, he was attracted to this transcendental rasa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by liberated souls who sing Vedic hymns. The mundane people, the Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than mundane people. He is of necessity not impersonal because it is only possible to carry on the transcendental rasa with a person. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Thus, the subject matter is appealing to all classes of persons, including those who seek liberation and those who seek to become one with the Supreme Whole. In Sanskrit, the parrot is also known as shuka. When a ripened fruit is cut by the red beaks of such birds, its sweet flavor is enhanced. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who is compared to the parrot not for his ability to recite the Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from his learned father, but for his ability to present the work in a manner that would appeal to all classes of men. The subject matter is so presented through the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami that any sincere listener that hears submissively can at once relish transcendental tastes which are distinct from the perverted tastes of the material world. The ripened fruit is not dropped all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishna Loka. Rather, it has come down carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. Foolish people who are not in the transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunders by trying to understand the highest transcendental rasa known as the rasa dance without following in the footsteps of Shukadeva Goswami, who presents this fruit very carefully by stages of transcendental realization. One should be intelligent enough to know the position of Srimad Bhagavatam by considering personalities like Shukadeva Goswami, who deals with the subject so carefully. This process of disciplic succession of the Bhagavata school suggests that in the future also Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood from a person who is factually a representative of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. A professional man who makes a business out of reciting the Bhagavatam illegally is certainly not a representative of Shukadeva Goswami. Such a man's business is only to earn his livelihood. Therefore, one should refrain from hearing the lectures on such professional men. Such men usually go to the most confidential part of the literature without undergoing the gradual process of understanding this grave subject. They usually plunge into the subject matter of the rasa dance, which is misunderstood by the foolish class of men. Some of them take this to be immoral, while others try to cover it up by their own stupid interpretations. They have no desire to follow in the footsteps of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. One should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of the rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are in the right beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the third verse, chapter first and the first canto. So in the first verse we saw the description of the absolute truth. And the second one and the third one, the current one, we are seeing the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. What actually the Bhagavatam is. So here it is mentioned, Vyasadeva mentions, Nigama kalpataro galitam phalam. Vedas are called as Nigama. Nigama, and they compare to kalpataro. Kalpataro means, we know, in our general understanding also we have this word, kalpataru. Kalpataru means, taro means tree. Kalpataru means the tree which fulfills all desires, any kind of desire. So Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedic literatures are like Kalpataru. So anybody can achieve anything with the help of the Vedic literatures. If somebody desires to become the greatest demon, they can become greatest demon. If somebody desires to become greatest devotee, they can become greatest devotee. So two extremes are possible. From greatest demand to greatest devotee. Everything is possible with the help of Vedic literatures. And somebody wants to be in between, that's also possible. Many of us are in between. So the Vedic literatures, they are so systematically compiled. So they will gradually elevate the living beings towards the spiritual perfection. It's very gradual. It could be of many, many lifetimes. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Bahunam janma. Many, many lives it can take. If you are going by, the system that is explained in the Vedic literatures. But this Bhagavatam, it's not like any other Vedic literatures. It is Galitam Phalam. It is ripened fruit of the all Vedic knowledge. In a taroho, in a tree, what is the most sweetest part? The fruit. Not just the fruit, ripened fruit. Galitam, ripened fruit. Galitam Phalam. But this Bhagavatam is not just Galitam Phalam. It is Shukamukad Galitam Phalam. It is tasted by a parrot. So any fruit which is tasted by parrot, the taste is enhanced. Just like if there is a fruit, if a snake bites that fruit, what happens? It becomes poisonous. Same way, when a parrot, this is the arrangement of the nature. A parrot goes and bites on a fruit, the fruit's taste is enhanced. Similarly, this Galitam Phalam, Srimad Bhagavatam, the taste has increased. Already it was full of taste. That's why in the further lines it is said, even the liberated souls were relishing it. But when Shukadeva Goswami spoke, the taste increased. Shukamukad Amrita Drava. It's nectar. Samyutam. Amrita Drava Samyutam. This word is very important. Samyutam. Samyutam means, it is saying, Srimad Bhagavatam is perfect in all respects. Why it is perfect in all respects? The first thing is, it has been handed over carefully in the disciplic succession. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Srila Narada Muni, he brought it directly from the spiritual world and gave it to his disciple Vyasadeva. And then Vyasadeva spoke to Shukadeva Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj, and that's how the message was spread across. So what we are reading is originally from Shukadeva Goswami and coming in the disciplic succession. And this Bhagavatam, it is not that only some people can find interest, or somebody who has been liberated. Persons who are liberated, for them there is no need of Vedic knowledge. They are full of knowledge. They don't need to take help of Vedas. But this particular scripture, it is relished by even liberated souls. Muhuraho Rasika. all the time, not say for some time. Just like if you read some storybooks, we may read once, twice, or maximum thrice. After that, we cannot read it anymore. But this Bhagavatam is always relishable. Alayam. It's always. And by everyone. Whoever is patiently and submissively hearing, irrespective of his qualification, he will relish this Bhagavatam all the time. It doesn't become stale or disinteresting. It always remains fresh. So this is how this is perfect in all respects. And not only this, Shukadeva Goswami, it is said that how the taste is increasing, why it is becoming more relishable. Shukadeva Goswami, it has become tasty not because Shukadeva Goswami has spoken it very sweetly, or he has shown his scholarly abilities to present it nicely. That is not the main reason. Of course, it is part of this. But the main reasons are that Shukadeva Goswami, he has this knowledge is part of his self. He has absorbed this knowledge. He has realized this knowledge. And he has presented it in such a manner that it is appealing to anybody who is patiently and submissively hearing. Prabhupada is saying even Mayavadis can be transformed into devotees. Impersonalists. If they hear with patience and submissiveness, even they can be convinced about the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is why, that's the significant role that Shukadeva Goswami has played in speaking this Bhagavatam. So this is how it is samyutam. It is perfect in all respects. So, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shukhamukhad amrita dravya samyutam. Next, there are two more important words that have been mentioned here. Rasika. Rasika and Rasa. This Bhagavatam educates the readers in the Rasa Tattva. Prabhupada makes a statement here in the purport. The highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is a reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. What is the highest spiritual realization? That the personality of Godhead is a reservoir of all the rasas. This is the highest realization, spiritual realization. And Bhagavatam convinces the reader about this fact. If after reading Bhagavatam I am not realizing this, then my reading is not proper. My understanding is not proper. What is that? That the Supreme Lord is reservoir of all kinds of tastes. Elsewhere in the Vedic literatures it is said, Raso vai saha, rasam hi evayam, labdva anandi bhavati. Raso vai saha. It's referring to the Supreme Lord. He is abode of all the rasas. Raso vai saha. And next it says, Rasam hi eva ayam. He is not just the abode of rasas, but he is the rasas himself. Rasam hi eva. He is the rasa. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of water. He's not just taste of the water, but whatever rasa we experience, either in the material world or in the spiritual world, that is Krishna. He is rasa, he is abode of rasa, and he is rasa itself. And next it says, anyone who achieves this, labdhva anandi bhavati. Anyone who achieves these rasas becomes completely blissful. Anandi bhavati. So Prabhupada says in the purport that the Supreme Lord is a being, is a person. He's a supreme sentient being. He has sentiments, he has emotions. And when there are emotions, there are sentiments, we cannot be enjoying them alone. We need somebody else to exchange, somebody else to, share experience. So it cannot help, it cannot work only with, the self. We will have to relate with somebody. So that is why the Supreme Lord, what he does, eko bahushamaha, he expands himself for his enjoyment. He becomes many. Because his nature is anandamayo bhyasat. His nature is to enjoy. So for his enjoyment, he becomes eko bahushamaha, he expands into millions. In another place it is said, Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam. And by expanding, he also at the same time maintains his separate existence. He doesn't become one with us. He has in his separate identity. Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. And he involves in satisfying the desires of all the living entities. And that is a rasa. That is experiencing with his subordinate living entities. So this is how the Supreme Lord enjoys his creation. In one lecture, Prabhupada was saying that, referring to, giving an explanation on this particular verse, Eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. He was saying that when Krishna is supplying everyone that the particular soul needs, what's wrong in him becoming the Supreme Lord? He being the boss. So, in the material world, generally the living entities, they want to enjoy separately from Krishna. But Prabhupada says in the purport that it is not possible. We will be frustrated. We will be bewildered, baffled. Whatever we may plan, it will be baffled. It will not become successful. Only when those emotions, the rasas, are in relation with the Supreme Lord, who is the original creator of this rasas, then that is perfection. And that is the highest enjoyment, and only then the living entity can be happy, Prabhupada says. Because that is the constitutional position of this Rasatattva. Just like somebody is very rich, having a lot of wealth. He's having wealth, but he doesn't have any relatives or anybody who will look at his wealth or be part of his wealthy living. He cannot enjoy. Many examples we have. Even Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, he was refusing to fight in the beginning, isn't it, in the first chapter? He says, Krishna, I may win over, I may gain the whole earth, but at the cost of my relatives, they'll all be dead. What will I do with all the wealth? How can I enjoy without my relatives all this wealth? So this is the fact. So we will need someone to be relating with. Or another example. Say somebody can sing very nicely. He can sing so nicely, but there are no audience. Will he still continue to sing, or will he like to sing? Doesn't happen. You will need audience. So the Supreme Lord has a very huge audience. Unlimited audience. In the spiritual world, in the Vaikunthas, in the material world, everywhere he has audience. And his scale of enjoyment is very, very huge. Unlimited, inconceivable. Even though the scale is so huge, he can relate with every one of us. That's his glory. Eko bahunam vidadhati kaman. Starting from insignificant ant to Lord Brahma. Every living entity the Lord can relate with. Those who desire to relate with him, he is proactive. But he is so merciful, even though people are not interested in relating with him, but still he maintains vidadhati kaman. So this is the Lord's creation. This is a rasa. And he enjoys in, these rasas are, just like Prabhupada explains in the purport, how many kinds of rasas are there? 12 rasas. And these rasas will be elaborately, with, stories and evidences. The whole Bhagavatam it explains, especially in the 10th canto. All these rasas are with examples explained. And how Krishna enjoys these rasas very systematically. It is so much variegatedness that there are spiritual Vaikuntha worlds. The rasa that exists in Vaikuntha world is different from the spiritual Golok Vrindavan. And in the material world. So everywhere there is different rasa that is existing. And in just few words, in simple words, Prabhupada is giving a hint in the purport that, just like anybody of us will have somebody relating with us like a servant, like a friend, then parents we have, then as lovers. So these are the basic rasas. And Krishna, these are all coming from Krishna. But here, they are in perverted form. So in the perverted form, we cannot experience the originality of it. So that is why, when we try to experience happiness, it is not the real experience. It's going to baffle us. Because it is not there. Really, it is not there. It's only an illusion. So this Bhagavatam, what it does to the hearers, it educates about this Rasa Tattva. It takes one from ignorance to knowledge. Where actually, because the tendency to enjoy cannot be separated. Person means we want to enjoy. But there is enjoyment in ignorance and there is enjoyment in knowledge. So Bhagavatam educates the reader how this enjoyment can be experienced by going into knowledge. So it will educate the person how to relate with that Supreme Lord in any of these rasas. So that is how, and it happens, it doesn't take lifetimes. It's very quick. Just in the previous verse we saw, it is said, Shushrushabhi Tat Kshanat. Kshanat. It just happens like that. So this is how Srimad Bhagavatam is, it's called Samyutam. Samyutam means perfect. Perfect in all respects. And very, like Prabhupada gives the example of elevator. Scriptures are like, when somebody takes to scriptures, other Vedic literature, it's like taking staircase. But Srimad Bhagavatam, the process of Bhagavatam is like elevator. Directly we can reach the top floor. So we have to take proper use of this Bhagavatam, the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada has made it very easy for us. He has not only just given the Bhagavatam, he has also given the process which will accelerate our reading, understanding and inculcating the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, which will ultimately turn us to become a person Bhagavata. So this is the speciality of our disciplic succession, especially Srila Prabhupada and his spiritual master. So we'll see further how the sages are going to ask further questions for the benefit of the whole world. We'll end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Thai Gaur Premanand.